Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 9 p.m. live English news edition. Here are the top stories. 10,000 candidates start the baccalaureate exams 2020. CMGA receives the new commander of the French forces. For the international news, in Senegal, President Macky Sall calls for African debt relief. Hello and welcome again, and welcome for having the news in details. As for Saturday, August 29th, 2020, the main data related to the evolution of the COVID-19 pandemic are as follows. 7 patients have been declared cured, 412 tests performed, 2 positive for COVID-19 and 0 death. And as for the global balance sheet, it's declined as follows. 66,859 tests performed, 5,300 positive, 5,314 cases were confirmed cured, 60 deaths in total. Stay alert, protect yourself and protect the others. And now to the subject, the national subject. Very early this morning, under the good escort of the National Gendarmerie, the first test of the baccalaureate session 2020 into general, technical and Arabic education streams began today, Saturday, August 29th, 2020, and are scheduled to continue throughout the week. In this year, so special, marked by the presence of the COVID-19, the implementation and respect of the barrier measures were the 10,000 candidates, including an 819 in general education and nearly 1,300 for the vocational baccalaureate, as well as 327 candidates for the Arab baccalaureates, which make up the test in more than 15 examination centers. Within the framework of the respect of the distance measures, the examination centers have been multiplied by 2 compared to the previous year. For general education, 11 examination centers are constituted. These are the 4 high schools in the capital, Djibouti State High School, Gabod, Hodan, and Balbala, and 5 centers housed within the university, Site 2, 3 in campus of Balbala, the medical school and engineering school, as well as the industrial commercial high school host the technical vocational baccalaureate exams. Candidates for the Arab baccalaureate compose the exams in the scientific and literary series at the Basic Education Teacher Training Center. MENFOP has set up a special and particular device to ensure the smooth running of the exams. Teachers and administrative staff have been mobilized to ensure an optimal supervision and functioning of the examination centers. In this regard, examination subjects were transported under good escort thanks to the mobilization of vehicles of the National Gendarmerie, which ensured the security and confidentiality of the batches to develop that were delivered under seal to the various heads of the examination centers under the supervision of the President of the Examination Board. In addition, the teaching and administrative staff designated to ensure the supervision and secretariat of the baccalaureate were up to task with a ratio of 1 proctor for every 6 candidates. MENFOP is very pleased with this achievement, as it has once again succeeded in setting up a well-oiled system adapted to the current context for optimal conduct of the BAC 2020 exams. As usual, now the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, made a tour of inspection to ensure the smooth running of the test. The delegation led by the minister went successively to the campus of Balbala, the Balbala School of Engineering, the Lake LIC, the State High School of Djibouti, then the Teacher Training Center for Basic Education, then to the High School of Gabon. The minister was accompanied by a strong delegation composed of the highest officials of his department, the opportunity for the ministerial delegation to appreciate consequent and adequate mechanism put in place to enable candidates to pass the test in the best material, health, and human conditions. At the end of his tour, the minister said he was satisfied with the smooth running of the test. After discussion with the heads of centers and the president of jury, the minister paid tribute to the mobilization of the staff involved. He encouraged the teachers and administrative staff to give their best to ensure total fairness and transparency of these exams. He stated, recalling that compliance with the very measures is mandatory. Finally, it should be noted that these tests will continue throughout the week before the deliberation and the proclamation of results, which are expected from next July. Now, the State Secretary for Youth and Sport, His Excellency Mr. Hassan Mohammed Kamil, visited Asagela yesterday as part of a prospecting visit. Accompanied by the Director of Regions, Omar Hassan, the number one of the SEGS, was welcomed with all honors by the population of Asagela, with the head of the village, Mr. Ali Hassan. After contact with the notables, the State Secretary for Youth in Sport was invited to attend the final of a soccer tournament that pitted two best teams of the locality before honoring the champion. We are also pleased with the visit of the State Secretary for Youth in Sport. We discussed at length with him all the ills our youth are facing. He noted all the grievances followed by promises he declared. The chief of the village declared before greeting the new flagship program of the SCGC, which according to him are factors in bringing people together. Now, on the occasion of the Muslim New Year, especially on the 20th day of the month of Muharram Ashura, the Chief of and the General Staff of the Army, Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, held this morning at 10 a.m. in the meeting room of the General Staff of the Army, a meeting by video conference with all senior military officials of the garrison of Djibouti and regions of the interior. This meeting was attended by the Chief of Defense Staff, Brigadier General Tahir Ali Mohammed, and the Major General Hassan Ali Kamil, advisor to CMGA. The purpose of this meeting was to review the situation in the field of security and defense of the country and to take stock of current and future operation. This meeting was made possible thanks to the implementation in January 2020 of the new digital telephone network of the Djiboutian Armed Forces. General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim received this morning at 9 in his office at the General Staff of the Armed Forces Air Brigadier General Stéphane Dupont, the new commander of the French forces stationed in Djibouti. General Stéphane Dupont is due to take command of COMFOR on 1st September 2020 during his military career. General Stéphane has always served in Djibouti from 2010 to 2012 as commander of the FFDG Air Base 188. Welcomed at the staff porch with honors by Colonel Wagdi Jama Musa, Chief of Corps of the Headquarters Regiment, General Stéphane Dupont, accompanied by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Tahir Ali Mohammed, went to the office of the Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces. The courtesy visit was attended by Major General Hassan Ali Kamil, advisor to the CMGA, General Tahir Ali Mohammed, Colonel Wagdi Jama Musa, Lieutenant Colonel Ibrahim Zakaria Sheikh, Director of International Relations, and Lieutenant Colonel Mohammed Qayad Naji, Chief of Staff of the CMGA. In his speech, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim first welcomed the new COMFOR for his second visit to Djibouti, a land of exchange and meeting. CMGA stressed the exceptional strong ties between Djibouti and France, particularly in the military field, which must be further strengthened in the common interest of our two countries. The Djiboutian CMGA assured General Stéphane of his full support and that is of his staff in the accomplishment of his mission. For his part, General Stéphane thanked the warm welcome extended to him. The new COMFOR is committed to working harder to strengthen, consolidate, and broaden these cooperative ties. This visit was also an opportunity to thank and congratulate Major General Eric Garnes, descending comfort for his mission successfully completed during his stay at the head of the French forces stationed in Djibouti. During the meeting, the Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, did not fail to highlight the effort made by the General Eric Garnes to enhance relations of cooperation, military exchanges, and strategic partnership between the two armies. In recognition for the remarkable work done, it should be recalled that General Eric was distinguished by the award of Medal of Commander of the Great Star of Djibouti. CMGA Djibouti wished him an excellent return home. For his part, Major General Eric Garnes congratulated the excellent strategy adopted by the government of Djibouti in the fight against the pandemic COVID-19. This farewell ceremony ended with an exchange in gifts and traditional family photo.
الله ينقى أقبل الله ينقى أقبل إلهه ينقى أقبل.
Saturday, August 29, 2020 was an eventful day after the courteous visit of the new comfort and video conference with all senior military officials of the garrison of Djibouti and the interior regions. The Chief of General Staff of the Army, Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, by Presidential Decree number 2020-177 dated 29/07/2020, has promoted the Medical Colonel Median Mohammed Saeed, Director of the Army Military Hospital, to the rank of Colonel Major. It was the occasion for General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim to present a new strip to the Medical Colonel Median Mohammed Saeed in the presence of the Chief of Defense Staff, Brigadier General Tahir Ali Mohammed, and the Major General Hassan Ali Kamil, advisor to the CMGA. This duly deserved award was given in recognition for the remarkable work carried out by the Director of the Military Hospital, who works tirelessly in the service of the health for military personnel, their family, but also for our fellow citizens. Now, a ceremony to award a certificate to the Puntland delegation took place this morning at the Djibouti International Tower near the new free zone of Djibouti located PK 23rd. This ceremony was chaired by the President of the Authority of Ports and Free Zones, Mr. Bakar Omar Hadi, in the presence of the advisor to the President of the Puntland region, Mr. Abdi Ali Aware, and the representative of this country in Djibouti, Saeed Mahdi. This event comes in the context of the end of training granted to the delegation of Puntland visiting Djibouti since Tuesday. Throughout their visit, the members of the relegation have benefited not only from high-quality training, but also knowledge and expertise in port management that will enable them to properly manage their port, including that of Gara'at. Recall that the port of Gara'ad is the result of a relationship of fraternity and cooperation in the field of port infrastructure between the Port Authority and Free Zone of Djibouti and the Port Authority and of the region of Puntland. Djibouti has expertise and experience in field of port and free zone management that dates back over a century. This is what attracts countries in the region and on the African continent to inquire about this knowledge on the management of port logistics. Djibouti is proud to share this expertise with friendly and brotherly countries. Note that this delegation, whose senior management of the port of Gara'at has received a certificate of completion of training, the advisor to the president of the region, Puntland, Mr. Abdi Ali Awari, in his speech indicated that this training aims to increase knowledge and expertise in the management of their ports. He thanked the president of the ports and zones authorities, his staff, for the training offered to Puntland delegation. The advisor to the president of the Puntland region closed his remarks that Djibouti and the Puntland region have a relationship and fraternity and friendship. Moving now to international news, President Macky Sall calls for debt relief for African countries to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. This Thursday, during a speech at the MEDEF Summer University, the French Employers Union, the Senegalese head of state also spoke out in favor of a reassessment of development models. During the month of April, the G20 had decided, following the request of several countries, to suspend debt repayment to the poorest countries until the end of the year. These countries were facing capital flight and a drop in their tax revenues due to the coronavirus. But for several observers, this measures is not sufficient to deal with the consequences of the pandemic in Africa. In March, President Macky Sall had already called for the cancellation of Africa's public debt and a rescheduling of its private debt. This is it for this edition of 9 p.m. Thank you for watching us and have a wonderful evening.